Is Child guilty? Yes, he is. Although not for the crime that he was accused of in Fontaine, whatever that might be. I mean, while it was satisfying to hear Child finally being deemed guilty, that was a weird trial at best. And that's not what we're gonna get into in this video. Instead, we're going back 3 regions, all the way back to Liyue, and recount the real crime that Tartaglia was guilty of. A crime with no real consequences that he simply walked out of that region alive and free of any charges. The year is 2020, and we're in patch 1.1, and it is time for Tartaglia to answer for his crime. When talking about Child, objectively he is one of the few well-written characters in Genshin Impact. He's unhinged, unapologetic, talks big despite his lack of skill, considering his ranking within the Harbingers of course, and has an amazing VA who managed to deliver that unhingedness in his manner of speaking. So subjectively, I hate him. While I cannot pinpoint when exactly this hatred towards him started, the accumulation of it happened during the climax of the Liyue Archon quest. Yes, this scene right here. Child summoning Osael, an ancient god in Liyue who was sealed by Rex Lapis during the Archon War because Child wanted to lure out Rex Lapis so that he could, steal the Geo Archon's Gnosis. Simple, pretty neat, but also careless and irresponsible. He didn't think twice before executing this plan B because he had come to the conclusion that the Geo Archon was still alive. And should his precious Liyue Harbor put at risk, obviously Rex Lapis would show up, right? Rex Lapis would show up, right? Except, Rex Lapis was no longer Rex Lapis. And Zhongli, the retired version of him, was taking that opportunity to test the people of Liyue and see if they could survive the attack without his interference. And Liyue Harbor did survive the attack because the Tianquan Ningguang sacrificed the manifestation of her blood and tears to defeat Osael. That last bit, the climax of this quest, was what planted the seed of hatred towards Child in me. He failed to bring Rex Lapis out of hiding, attempting a mass murder while at it, and the price for that was Ningguang's Jade Chamber. Ningguang, who was painted as someone we shouldn't trust from the start of the quest for her cunning businesswoman nature, without a second thought chose to drop the Jade Chamber on Osael because there was no other way out. Jade Chamber, or Liyue Harbor and all of the people in it. But then even the Adepti questioned her true intention for doing that. Why? Why is she doing this? Another leverage to better her image and win over the love of the Adepti? And only 2 years later, in the Hangout event, we learned it was a big deal for Ningguang to do that. 2 years for us to finally see a crack in Ningguang's facade and learn that it wasn't just one of her cunning business tricks. Look, Liyue Archon Quest left a bad taste in my mouth because of its ending. Because of how carelessly they handled everyone's reaction to Ningguang's sacrifice simply because she got the reputation of a cunning businesswoman. Sure, she's the richest person in Teyvat and probably could build 100 more Jade Chamber without breaking a sweat. But it was something precious to her, yet everyone downplayed it too much. Everyone except for Madame Ping, the true Giga Chad, who would have none of it and chose to let everyone know that it was a big deal and that the other Adepti should be a bit more respectful of that sacrifice. Zhongli was actually the worst of them. He said he knew he could rely on the Adepti. Well, he's wrong, because it was Ningguang who saved everyone's asses, so it was a surprise to him that Ningguang actually sacrificed her Jade Chamber and said he couldn't ask for a better retirement gift. Like, excuse me? That sacrifice meant nothing more to him than a retirement gift? And then there was Child, who finally showed some other emotion than high and mighty when he learned that Signora and Zhongli were working together behind his back. That was what he was upset about, being tricked by his own co-worker and the target of his mission. Not because the lie led him to almost killing the entire population of Liyue Harbor, no. And then what? The 2 Harbingers casually walked out of Liyue with little to no consequences on their part. Within the 2 years before Ningguang's Hangout event, before we knew that parting with Jade Chamber did affect her, we saw Child traveling to another nation like he's not a war criminal guilty of a mass murder attempt in Liyue. How he could just walk around Inazuma, befriended Yoimiya, flaunted his increased power throughout that Wandoing event. What was that all about? I mean, my biased hatred aside, don't you find it weird how the game treats him so far? He is a bad guy, a Fatui Harbinger at that. He literally attempted a genocide in Liyue without a second thought, and Traveler was okay with that? "Oh, I guess all of us were tricked then," one of the dialogue options said. Well, why didn't they try to explain that to Ningguang? She would simply shrug her shoulders and say, so that was never that serious, huh? Hold on, let me just collect all the debris of Jade Chamber and put it back together, no big deal. In comparison, the traveler was so upset with both Scaramouche and Signora. Sure, the two of them were involved in the Delusion Factory, and of course the weird pacing of Inazuma Archon Quest did play a part in it. But why was Traveler not mad at Child? Delusion triggered accelerated aging and would slowly kill the users. Osail was an ancient god that took 6 Adepti, 2 Chising members, and a literal floating building to subdue it. Both were means to draw the Archons out of hiding in an attempt to steal their gnosis. The lives of many for the price of a divine power. And then the other side of the player base would say, "Oh, you misunderstand him. He's not bad. He was traumatized as a child, fell into the abyss, came out of it a bloodthirst boy who got sent to the Fatui by his own father." Okay, but Signora was left behind by her beloved who died protecting Mondstadt because their Archon abandoned their nation, and Scaramouche, who was abandoned by his mother and manipulated into being a cold-blooded maniac. It's not about Child being misunderstood. It's about the strange narrative choice that Hoyoverse goes with when it comes to Child, which naturally annoys me. Because it really is exclusive to him when you think about it. This chill past that the Traveler had for him. I mean, remember when Traveler found out that Linnea and Lynette were also Fatui? They got so mad at the twins, they almost dropped them right there and then at the trial. It's ridiculous. Well, he loved his family though. Remember his character story, how he protects his little brother's dream? Well, first of all, every villain has something that they love and care about. Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones loved her children more than anything else, more than anybody else. Scaramouche, his found family in Tatarasuna, and that little boy in Yashuri Island. Raiden A, her twin sister Raiden Makoto. The list goes on. Child caring about his family is not a spectacular, groundbreaking thing. That doesn't make him a good guy. It would make more sense for the story to be an extension of Child as a character instead, like he has this murder side of him plus this loving big brother side of him, instead of, oh sure he kills people but he loves his family. No, don't sell me that. He is a pretty well-written villain of the story, and it's okay if you like that kind of character, and on the other side of it, it is also okay for people like me to hate him, to be annoyed every time he shows up in a story and every time he opens his mouth to speak up. There is no need to defend and excuse him for his wrongdoings. Child never did, he never does, and he never would. There is no need to write him into the story to paint him in the good guy clothing and to garner sympathy because he is not a good guy and he definitely doesn't need the sympathy. Which brings us back to my original point. Child is guilty. He is guilty of a mass murder attempt in Liyue, and it baffles me that he was able to do that with no real consequences whatsoever. I mean, sure, we did help Ningguang rebuild her Jade Chamber, and if need be, she would not hesitate to drop it a second time. And yes, technically, Child is in jail now, but it's not for the crime he's guilty of. So, let us break him out of jail in 4.1 because it is time for Child to answer for his crime in Liyue Harbor.